Towns of Parang. Spanish colonization from the 1500s introduced Christian observances, later shaped by British and African influences. Enslaved Africans and Venezuelan migrants contributed rhythmic elements that defined modern Parang music. Bands wander house to house, playing guitars, maracas, and cuatros, sharing good cheer. Families enjoy pastels, black cake, and sorrel, reflecting a mosaic of culinary traditions. By the mid-1900s, independence did not diminish these festivities, which still unite communities. Nearly 1,400,000 residents celebrate midnight masses and vibrant gatherings during the holiday season. Cultural fusion emerges in every note, echoing centuries of shared story.
Years old, 42 years old, it will never die. It will never die. Yes, man. Cuatro by the man Tito Lara from the Lara Brothers. The other day, I went Venezuela, and I fall in love with a señorita. Well, I hardly know the lingo, but I really know what she know. So I try out a whole Zeppo, see me making signal for two, and I'm singing, me muchacha. They say mucho bien, dame el amor. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Me muchacha. They say mucho bien, dame el amor. Me mommy rich, me papi rich, me uncle rich. Muchacha, me brother rich, me sister rich, and I drive in motor car. A little mini minor, it had one seat in it. I just sit on a sweet drink box. A juicy sweet drink box. Bilim, bilim, bim, bilim. Brian, let me hear you. Bilim, bilim, bim, bilim, bim, boom, bim. Lam, bam, 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 bilim, bam, boom, bim. Lam, bam, 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 bilim, bim, boom. Again, one more time. Bilim, bilim, bim, bilim, bim, boom, bim. Bilim, bilim, bim, bilim, bim, boom, bim. Tell me, boy, come chat with me, padre. It is not too far, we'll pass through the subway. Well, I meet this man in a bar, so I take a trip with my bar. I tell him, hope you comprehend, and I start to kiss the woman, and I'm singing, me muchacha. They say, mucho bien, dame el amor. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Me muchacha. They say, mucho bien, dame el amor. Mommy rich, the papi rich, the uncle rich, muchacha, the brother rich, the sister next rich, one. And I drive in motor car. Yes man, yes man.
Good evening. Welcome to Yellow Zikol program on UNC USA. We are here with Mr. Ken Dalchan, our civil engineer, Mr. Suman Singh, our technical analysis, and Captain Alvin Singh, our U.S. military captain from the United States military.
There have been a lot of reports of small crimes, petty crimes, robberies, home invasions with the Christmas season. That is normal. However, there seems to be a slight uptick.
Right.
How are the police handling it? How is your ministry handling it? And are there any plans in place?
If you look at only last week, the city prime minister would have issued or received a number of police vehicles that will help to treat with those type of events that are taking place in and around Trinidad and Tobago. We also have a joint effort with members of our defense force or colleagues that we intend to launch possibly by Thursday or Friday of this week.
All right, thank you very much.
Shut it down. Not because it was unsafe, or not because it was unfinished, but some will say it was malice, spite, and ill will. For almost a decade, this hospital was abandoned, while children were flown abroad for treatment that could have been done here, and whilst others did not survive because we did not be able to get the treatment. We went into opposition, and I refused to let this hospital be forgotten. We fought for it because we have always believed that there is one truth. Every child you encounter is a divine appointment. Many said we should let it go and move on, but some responsibilities are not only political, they are moral responsibilities. Then in April 2024, when 11 newborn children died at the Port of Spain General Hospital in the queue, the price of neglect became undeniable. In that moment, I repeated what I've been saying for years. Open the Couva Children's Hospital. Open the hospital. Because a nation is ultimately judged by how it protects its most vulnerable. And when that duty fails, the cost is never political, it is human. We have a lesson in history to learn. I remember tonight, today, this evening as we are here, that history repeats itself and positive steps must be taken to improve and to better. In 2000, I was Minister of Education of this country. I pioneered a policy guaranteeing every child a place in secondary school. I still remember a short-sighted MP from the other side mocking us about rural communities, asking why we were building schools for parrots and wrens. You don't remember that? Building schools for parrots and wrens, but you see, we understood rural life. I know what it means to walk barefoot to school and how distance and cost could deny a child a future. So we built schools to give rural children equal access to education. In the same way this hospital was built to provide every child equal access to health care. That Misha is good. Excuse me. That Misha is good. Stayed shut up and abandoned for nearly a decade. It was only when we returned to government that we opened it in September 2011.
So, gentlemen, welcome to the program. And, we saw all this big noise about granting FULs to law abiding citizens will cause a Wild West situation in Trinidad and Tobago. But as far as I could see, we have a Middle East situation going on in Trinidad and Tobago with the rapid gunfire that you see out there, looking at the type of equipment. So, gentlemen, I would like to hear your views on this. Go ahead, Suman or Ken or anybody. Go ahead.
Gary, let me just say one thing um, out of respect for the Prime Minister, and that's the first video, as one of the video we saw there with her speech and whatnot. Look, this hospital has been the target of a political, assassination by the PNM, right? It has been left abandoned there for almost 10 years without really putting it to its optimal use with what it was built for, you know. And to hear her speak about the hospital, right, and to see how dedicated that she is to reopen this hospital, I think, and this is just my opinion, and I've seen it out, on the public platforms there, right? I believe that out of respect for what she have done and achieved so far, that we should rename this hospital the Kamala Prasad Bisisa Children's Hospital. I think that name was suited perfectly, and that's just my opinion again there. So, Matt,
I
Alvin,
sh- I share that same similar opinion. It took 10 years to reopen, I should say, because it was opened already. So it took 10 years to reopen that,
correct.
and it was, a brand new 220 room bed, hospital, all the latest equipment and so on. And wait now, I'm reading $100 million has, been just thrown out the door with, all not equipment, but all whatever that was purchased initially had to be thrown out because these things like IV drips and all these things have expiry date. So all
Yeah, but
is
equipment not in use will become
Will
how to say
deteriorate, correct?
corroded.
Yeah.
yeah, and
It has to
like
be
all
serviced
these
also periodically.
drips machine and all them kind of things just went to the shoots. 100 million hospital waste, and here's it. She has fought so long and hard since 2010 for children.
Yeah.
It's quite a shame, and I think renaming this to the KPB Children's Hospital will be just doing justice for her.
I
I
Certainly,
mean,
share.
the
definitely.
prime minister also faced a lot of insult and humiliation.
Oh
They
yeah,
try to
oh
ridicule
yeah,
her so much,
yep,
and they try to deny that certain things wasn't, and the hospital was fully outfitted. So let me tell you something. I always say, God has a way of turning things around, and this is what we see here. I mean, for the amount of humiliation and that Mrs. Bisesa went through, and the amount of people who had risen up to sink her in the ground. I thank God for giving her the strength and turning things around. That today she is the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and I can't stop saying that. You know what I mean?
yes, and not to mention the
Mhm.
press as well, Gary. The press
Yeah,
as well.
correct.
That was the biggest and strongest voice for the PNM, that press, and it still is. We somehow or the other got to do something about this press, boy, because it's
Well,
perpetuating this biasness, this racial overtones. They
And they
want,
are finding people to contradict the government on this radar and stuff like that too. I've seen
yeah,
taking place.
yeah, exactly. The PNM guy in Tobago who is represented the PNM, he's the only one who won one of the seats. They lost the other 14. Uh, he has somehow or the other linked up with all the other opposition. So there are about 4 or 5 of them who say they got to remove the radio from Tobago. No, and they have one seat, One seat they have. So when they see the benefits of drug, that have been captured or, identified in Trinidad from Tobago. That same radar. As I said before, exactly what a radar is. And to see the benefits already accruing to us on some of these drug busts, that alone is evidence to show how much of these things keep going in either transshipment or used in Trinidad and Tobago over the past 10 years.
Samad, let me just say something. In the last 24 hours, right, we have already
Yes.
intercepted close to $200+ million in drugs. And there's a picture right here, right, with a
Yes.
boatload full of marijuana, right? This is not a little operation. Trinidad, where we're geographically located, makes us a hub. They can run that drug straight from South America, Venezuela, whatever, refuel, restock, or drop off some in Trinidad, repackage it, and then the rest they can move it up the islands, right? This is a big network, a multi-billion-dollar network, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. Radar or no radar, these fellas still bringing us drugs. So it's a fight.
Yes.
It's a continuous fight that we have to fight there, right?
Well, we're gonna need more radars. We're gonna need more resources
Definitely.
on the seas. Like I always say, the small interceptors is absolutely necessary, just like the bigger boats.
Captain
But
Singh,
could you imagine what is going on for the past 10 years?
and that's the next point.
That
And,
was scary.
and Captain Singh made that point today. We're talking about the same thing. He said, can you imagine from the 80s to now, what would have been taking place here? I'm not sure if you can hear me. Captain Singh, you there?
Yes, yes. My thoughts are that crime got away from the 80s. So you have that post-colonial time, and then you had the death of Eric Williams. So between that transitional period, you had the crime happening, and drugs has always been a moneymaker. And then you had that big influx of cocaine into the United States in the 80s. So it was white powder was the drug of choice coming to the United States back then. And now we have a president in the United States that has put his finger on it and says he's going to stop it. So we have U.S. military operations going on. We have air surveillance. We have satellite surveillance. We have human intelligence. Electronic warfare is happening. And this one little radar that the PNM agents in Tobago and also in Trinidad is finding all sorts of excuse why it should be removed. I was listening today, and some person in Trinidad with no military experience is speaking that and given an explanation of how a radar works. That it sends a signal out, it bounces off the object, and it comes back. Yeah, that's the concept of it. These sophisticated piece of military equipment from 2015 to 2025 has totally changed. I can tell you there's a piece of equipment called a Prophet, and we needed two pieces of equipment to get a fix on objects. So now we've seen things have changed, right? Now we don't need the two pieces, we need one. The individual was barking on some social media that it's line of sight. So where it's in Scarborough, we have the mountain ranges blocking us. And you can't find any drugs in the Caroni Swamp because that's in a sheltered area. Well, there's also something called psychological operations that the United States is very versed in doing. And it being a military operation right now that's happening, I'm not going to go too much into that, but what that radar does, you're not going to find it on a website. And the reason why they put it there, you're not going to find it on open source intelligence by looking it up. That's what you think it is, what you might find out there, but is that really what is the technology of that piece of equipment? So I know with the psychological operations that we've had in South Korea, we had in Kosovo in 2000, and in Afghanistan in 2009, 2008. Things change, and they have groups, units that work in tandem with other units, and there's a standard operating procedure of what the mission is going to be. The mission is to stop all drugs from coming in the United States, and if you, as a deterrent, if you're going to try to smuggle it in, and it's on a boat or it's on an airplane, the United States is going to shoot it down. Now, I suspected this a very long time ago that it would be very easy to disguise yourself as a fishing boat, and you'll be able to come into Caroni with that stuff, drugs. I've been in a swamp quite a few times, and there's some game wardens there, and they do patrol. And the swamp is not that big. There's also other tributaries along that western area that people who are well versed in that area will take the time to utilize that area for smuggling, whether it's drugs, animals, or any other type of substance that can create some kind of money in Trinidad and Tobago, and also as a transshipment point. So we found, or the police commissioner said they found a boat with a large amount of marijuana. No arrests were made. And he gave an explanation for it. And I'm not going to question his explanation because, again, they may be most likely having a lot of operations that's going on. And he can't come out and tell you exactly what's happening because it's going to be sensitive. And the United States military would classify it as secret, top secret, in that way. But what we are seeing with the reduction of drugs in the last 30 years, now in the last 6 months, what we've seen is a large percentage of drugs being captured and taken off the streets. This is going to impact the people who are smuggling that drugs to Trinidad and Tobago for transshipment and for local consumption. So that's one aspect of the economics of it. Two, I suspect that when the large groups of people that deal in this don't have any money, the lower echelons of the gangs will start to commit crimes because there's no money. There's no money in the economy. They have no skills, and there's no jobs. They may have never worked in their life other than in the transshipment of drugs and illegal activities. So what I suspect is going to happen is more home invasions, more crimes at stores in the transportation routes. I expect that. And what I've seen in the news since the 1st of December is an upswing. And today there was a home invasion in Barataria. The men tried to get into the sewer system underground. One was shot and killed. And they happened to be from the Port of Spain area. Whatever constituency it falls under, it's within that area. So we're going to see a lot of people who are unemployed or who were employed by the drug lords and in the drug processing, not having that economic hold. So now I think we're going to see a little more upswing. So it's all the more important that the police commissioner, they do more static patrols, more visual patrols. They also have joint patrols with the military, and also extend the state of emergency, because the state of emergency powers is helping in taking people off the streets. One thing I was thinking that with the upswing in interdiction of the drugs, and you go ahead and you take that out of the equation, how much of it is going to impact the 2026 carnival? We know that there's some money put into Carnival, but Carnival has always been a great opportunity to launder money. So if there's nothing to launder with Carnival, and this is something that the government should be looking at, how vibrant is this Carnival? If they start following the money trail, because illegal money has to be put somewhere. It has to be made legal by putting it in the bank. I think they should start looking at what the profit margin is and who's making large deposits during the Carnival. Ken?
That's
Come on.
correct. Yeah, and
Yes.
you hit the nail on the head when we talk about removing the drug supply, the supply chain, right, or limiting the quantity of drugs. Now these guys have to now find some sort of substitute or alternate, right? And what they do, what we saw, want to believe that there's an uptick in robberies, muggings, home invasions, right? So remember, we're dealing with criminals, right? Who are, as you mentioned, who have probably never worked in their whole entire life. They don't know how to work, right?
Not to
So
mention the higher prices on the
these are
market.
career criminals we're dealing with here.
I would
So-
like to see the commissioner take a couple tactics that the U.S. military use. It's something called weed and seed. I'm not going to go into detail of it, but it worked quite well in Afghanistan. And I think the prime minister should be aware that this is one tactic I really do like. Also, in Arizona, where I trained in Arizona, in Fort Huachuca, Arizona, I was there for 2 different times, and it's a school that we go to there in a town called Sierra Vista. It's in the middle of the desert, and it's on the border of the Mexican Arizona border out there. So you can't ride off into the desert there; you'll die. It's too hot, and it's too dangerous to even try to cross on that point there. So what the United States government they do, there's a lot of drug running happening in that area, and there's caves that people are able to store water. So there's points where they will stop and they can reconstitute themselves. So what they did, they have a series of blimps that they use on static. Now, because Arizona is dry, there's no trees out there. There is some brush in some places. They have these cameras, a system, and these things are static there, and they have a surveillance that's happening. So this thing can track the cameras that they have on those can track infrared, heat, night vision, the whole works. And they channel the people in a particular direction that they want them to do. Because if you see this, you're going to go in a different direction. There's also helicopters that fly and patrol, and there's also several drones that they use over there, the Predators and the Reapers, because those are continuously flying out of that particular base. But I think a combination of drones and these air surveillance blimps, they work quite well. And the reason why they use those blimps are they can control them remotely from the ground and move them. It's very slow, it's very silent. You see it up there, after a while you just get used to having it there. And a lot of time it's a deterrent. So drug coming across the Carignan Swamp, Philly City, all the way down into Point Jesus. Now that's defunct. That area has some marshes and has point of entries along there. All the way down to South Arapooch, where the fishing town is, then into Cedrus, and then all the way down into Moruga. If you have a series of air surveillance that can remain there for months at a time, and you have a network that's connected to operations center, OCCP or OCC, Operations Coordination Center, where you have a team of people there who are specialized in imagery and the ability to control these things, pilots that will be controlling them. They can adjust it, and you can keep the drugs out. But I suspect in the last 10 years and the last 35 years, uh, the the drugs or the people who were peddling this drug, they would have had to pay a large sum of money for the law enforcement to look the other way. That's the only reason all of these holes are in the national defense. And all the spending that we did on those offshore patrol vessels um, simply was not for patrolling anything, but for money to be spent and no tangible efforts. So I think now, like we can see with the President Trump here in the United States, you must have tangible results from money spent. And for far too long in Trinidad and Tobago, national security has taken a large cut off the yearly budget that is passed, and there's no results. I think if you don't produce, you need to be fired. Ken?
No, you hit the nail on the head there, right? When you mention and look, I always said that this drug empire, right? This is a multi-billion-dollar industry that's global. So to to really make an impact, you have to put your best foot forward and allocate your resources in the right places. Now, as you mentioned, a good point there, and I mean, this is the norm. These drug dealers and kingpins, they will buy out anyone or everyone in their path, even law enforcement. And we have it here in the United States also, right? Um, so we have to also look at the corrupt members of our law enforcement who are involved or indirectly involved, right, to some extent. And also, we also maybe have to question some of these politicians because what we've been seeing in the opposition there is people seem to be very adamant to get this radar out of Trinidad, right? Some people are making some lame excuses by saying we have been invaded by this radar. I mean, I can't, make any kind of sense out of that. But you know what it says there? That maybe somehow, some way, somebody is assisting somebody, you know, to facilitate the overall operation. Because again, this is not a small shop or a parlor that's running here. This is a multi-billion-dollar B for billion, right? Not millions. You see, in just a matter of 24 hours, we almost confiscated close to $250 million in drugs, right? A little more than $200 million. So to really put a dent here, we have to clean up the whole entire show from captain to cook. If they're involved, they have to be prosecuted. And I think we need that outside input from the US because I don't think we have it is wise to have the policing the police here. As we mentioned previously, we need something independent, something outside of Trinidad to bring that extra set of new eyes to say, hey, look, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that, we're detecting this, and use the technology that we don't have, right? This is a war, what we're fighting here, a war against drugs. And other things also, other illicit things that are crossing the porous borders, where the last government for 10 years, they had, 13 or 15 vessels. Senator Arnold Roberts did a video on that. These vehicles just sit down there, wasting time, park. I don't know if they've been serviced or what. According to what he said in the video, there was no diesel for these vehicles to operate. I mean, what a lame excuse. You don't have diesel to operate those vehicles to protect the people of Trinidad and Tobago and to protect our borders. It tells me something there. I mean, look, I'm not stupid, right? But to have those vehicles sitting there, without going out there and intercepting drugs, it says a lot. And now I have to ask some serious questions, right? Well, is it alleged that members of the last government were involved or facilitated in some way because of their behavior, right? The way how they left the borders open?
I would think so.
Guns, human trafficking, guns, human trafficking. We've seen all sorts of animals and stuff coming in. They're bringing goat and stuff and wild meat and stuff coming from Venezuela now. I mean, look at that. People coming to Venezuela, I'm sorry, to Trinidad from Venezuela, they're buying groceries and stuff. I mean, look, I mean, I'm for people trying to help themselves. But at the same time, we need to put some structure there to see, hey, okay, well, you come in, no problem. You can buy this, well, fine. But what about these people here? What are you bringing in that bale there that hasn't been checked, right? You know. So look, I think this is not rocket science. We just have to work together as a well-oiled machine, work with the United States. The technology is working. It's proven itself over again. We have busted more than $200+ million worth of drugs, right? And there's a lot more. The price of drugs I heard in Trinidad went up quadruple, right?
Well,
So yeah, so this is a big plus for us. Go ahead,
I'd like to
Captain
say that if the drugs are going up in price, and drugs are not going to Europe, and it's not going to England, United Kingdom, and United States, and we keep seizing this drug, for example, the ones in the swamp. Well, it's so corrupted in a sense, and what we are saying, in my opinion, I'm saying that the people abandoned that drug there because word would have gotten out that the law enforcement is coming to get it, and we don't hold anybody. We don't get anybody, but we get the drugs. And my point is that this large amount, this is the first time it's on the radar that this was done in the swamp. Somebody's going to have to pay for that. There's going to be fallout. I think there's going to be some fallout from the loss of these drugs because the people who are sending it from wherever they're sending it, they would like to have their money, and I think you're going to see something happen where people are made to pay a price for losing the drugs to the United States and its agents. I think we could see retribution happening. So. I think you may see kidnapping for ransom. You might see some sort of murders happening. I think the armed
gang warfare.
No, well, I don't think it's. I wouldn't say it's gang warfare within Trinidad. I think the people from the outside.
Well, it's gonna have some killing. It's gonna have some killing for the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for losing those drugs and the ability for not moving it. Because when you take something on consignment, you have to pay regardless of what happens to it. So being a facilitator, so I think the law enforcement should be cognizant of this happening. We may see kidnapping for ransom. We might see some odd things happening like that, and it may not be the simple businessman who has a shop or something in Central or car parts place or something like that. A lot of times you're going to see that was happening in the 10 years before. But I think this is going to be big. I think once you start losing that volume of drugs and you can't facilitate it anymore, I think somebody's going to be pretty angry that this is happening. But I want to take a pause on the drugs there and the U.S. There's a mention when we started about the Children's Hospital in Couva, and from my experience, I've been to the Children's Hospital in Mount Hope, and there's a plaque on the door, and it was founded the cornerstone that says the Minister of Health, Kamaluddin Mohammed. I think it's around 78, 79. That's there. That's the woman's, the maternity ward where the babies, where the pregnant ladies go. And if you have a sick baby in there, you go to a different part. And it's called the Wendy Fitzgerald Children's Wing there. And yes. I have pictures of the inside there. The furniture there, you can't sit on it. The entire seat will drop on you. The equipment is from the 40s, I believe, the 40s or 50s. I have the brands of it. It's all ancient and old. So from 78, 79, I think it was a bit of a white elephant late into the 80s. and then it was actually built on after 85, somewhere around there. I think it was moving to get completed. That children's hospital, the doctors, they extremely professional there. I had my son was sick. He was born in that hospital, Mount Hope, and he had to get a blood transfusion. It was a 50-50 chance whether he was going to make it or not. And the doctors, I remember the 2 young doctors that did the blood transfusion. They were all very professional in there. And I think that having a new facility and in the Couvers Children's Hospital would have been the better thing, because you'd have a central location there, and you'd also have modern equipment and more space in that facility, and more beds in there, in comparison to this old antiquated hospital, which was being run at the Mount Hope. So I think if you move the wing over there, you would have time to renovate this area, put some money and renovate it, and maybe you could have a sub office or something there, sub hospital or something there. Not close it down entirely if you need the space. And I think it was a shame that the hospital had several reasons why. But it was the PNM simply didn't want to have that hospital done and completed. So it was left abandoned until they had no choice during the pandemic, because they needed the beds because the facility was there. And I'm speaking to everyone here on the panel and who's listening on the web. I have a little experience with running 2 parts of a clinic, one in Ramstein Air Force Base, OBGYN, and also in Longstool Regional Hospital. I was a combat medic for 5 years, and I also went to Fort Sam Houston and graduated there. And then I was assigned to those 2 clinics in Germany in 2003. I was supposed to be there for 5 years at Ramstein Air Force Base in Longstool. So I do have some experience medically in that field also. I'm not only an Intel ex-retired Intel officer, but the hospital and medical was my first passion. And seeing my son born in Mount Hope Hospital and seeing all the floors in there, definitely the vision of the UNC and the vision of the Prime Minister, Ms. Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, by doing that was really extraordinary. And for the PNM to come and to stop this and saying, oh, well, the one that we have at Mount Hope is just good enough, is totally sad that these people will do that. Because I suspect that none of them, those wealthy people, will go to that hospital. They'll probably go to the United States and get treatment here in the United States or in Europe. Ken?
You know, you hit the nail on the head there. How could you just leave a hospital that was already open, right? Abandoned and out of use for 10 years, you know, and then only to come now, just before an election, and I'm talking about the PNM, to open to cut the ribbon for a construction project, right? I mean, how shameful is that, right? And that is basically just a political ploy and gimmicks, right? You left a hospital that was opened, specialized in taking care of children in need, right? I mean, children, you know, and to build your own hospital, but you're incomplete, and you cut the ribbon for a construction project with ongoing construction there, right? It shows that some people just care about politics and political mileage, and they can't deliver.
The COVID pandemic forced them to utilize the hospital. You know.
Of course, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It was
to only mama people, right?
Ken,
same with the Sandy Grande.
I want to make wickedness a crime in Trinidad and jail them for that.
Yeah. So no.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. For children, you need specialists. you can't have regular doctors deal with them
Correct.
because
But remember,
get
guys,
blood from a
we had
baby.
a who dead government, you know. We had a who dead government. You know, that was the motto.
Well, I tell you, to get a regular doctor to work with a baby, it doesn't work. I've seen regular doctors in the army when they saw babies, they had no idea what to do because the baby's body is way smaller than an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So you have people that specialize, even to take blood. You bend the wrist back and you use a butterfly to draw that blood out. And again, I'm just a combat medic with administrative experience in long school. So they train us to be able to set up a field hospital and get ready for war. That's what we do. And you have this asset that the Prime Minister had set up. How evil and vindictive the former Prime Minister would have been to say we're not going to open this thing and it's on a fault line, an earthquake fault line, and that it's a danger to itself. It could collapse at any time.
That was a lame excuse to say it's on a fault line, right? You know.
Well, that follows the PNM tradition. They say the same thing about Beach High School. You know, the Beach High School.
Yeah.
When you
yeah, because it runs straight across there.
Yep.
Right.
So there were some gases and so on, which is normal if you look. I can tell you, I work in Palo Seco Secondary School, and you smell from the wells, the oil wells and so on. You do smell the fumes from time to time, especially when the wind blows in the opposite direction. You tend to get it. But that doesn't mean to say that it's hazardous or what have you. Not the excuse the PNM is saying. Check how long, like a whole generation of students had to make it all the way up to Grandy to go to school in Oman, secondary school that is. Because I distributed computers for the Beach High School when UNC was there the last time and they opened it. So I can tell you that a lot of schools were victimized. Just check the amounts. 8 or 9 big secondary schools, I mentioned it last time, were left incomplete, including the South DB campus.
And those structures will start to deteriorate, right? Because they're not being maintained for a whole decade. The steel that's exposed is going to start to rust. The equipment, right, will seize up and fail, right? Because they have a certain maintenance, plan that you have to stick to, right?
Not to mention,
and just like the hospital, $100 million in wastage, right? So again, the people have lost there. The people have been robbed again there by the PNM, right? They've been robbed for 10 years and deprived of a world-class hospital, the children's hospital.
Especially.
Right? And now we have to spend $100 million now to bring it back to where it was when it was opened. Right? And somebody made a good point there. I stand corrected. It was opened, right?
It was
and left abandoned. It was left abandoned for 10 years, right? That is robbing the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and especially part of the population that's very delicate, the kids, the children. Right? As Captain Singh mentioned, right? You need specialized equipment and specialized training, specialist doctors, right, to handle some of these cases. $100 million right there, wasted, right? So we need to reduce the wastage, right? And the PNM has been noted to do this. Look, they built a pump station by the lighthouse there, right? And this only compounded on the problem. They're trying to fix that South Key flooding problem there, right? They put a pump and they put a 2D grating, and the garbage went and plugged the grating and created a major constriction of flow. you will see the low tide, the difference. South Key is this high, and the water in the sea is this high, and the whole of South Key flooding, right? And the pump cannot be engaged. Again, a bunch of wastage again. There's a whole lot of stories in the news with this roundabout. Somebody wants to build a wall in a roundabout somewhere in Diego Martin there or Westmoreland somewhere there. Right?
Yeah, I saw the Ministry of Works, what do you call it? Somebody, a mayor or somebody, I can't remember who just went out there to stop it. No, I don't know if it's a council person or somebody, I don't know. But the drivers were complaining. Anyway, I saw the pictures. I had it somewhere. I lost it, but maybe tomorrow night we'll do something.
Tomorrow or something we could discuss that. But you know, Gary, coming back, I don't want to deviate from the topic, right? The radar that we have here that the US has strategically positioned is working, right? And is working well for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, let me say the law-abiding citizens, right? I can't speak for everyone in Trinidad and Tobago because there are some people who want this rare piece of equipment out. There are some people who are involved in the drug trade, the multi-billion-dollar drug trade. I will speak out against this radar, right? This radar is taking away their bread and butter. It serves as a threat to their industry and their sector, their illicit underground sector.
But guys,
right?
Listen to me. If I've said to our party many times, right? If we're going to go up against these people, we have to secure ourselves, right? And we listen to me. Is a lot of money we're going up against. These are very organized crime syndicate that we need to remember. They have penetrated the system. They penetrated the police. They penetrated the Coast Guard because they just couldn't be walking through this like that. They penetrated the customs and immigration. They had their contacts in various political organizations. So I mean, we have to really do a lot of work. Overhaul the justice system, overhaul the management of the police force. You know, and it's a lot to do.
That is correct, Gary. And we have to stay close to the United States.
And
right?
There's one thing that bothers me more than anything else. We have these same people, not only the ones you see like in the Department of Works and this and that and so, but we have the same people. Do you think that these same people will honestly try to help the UNC in the delivery of, these delivery of projects and so on? They will do everything in their power to sabotage these things.
Correct.
Make sure the UNC looks bad, to make sure the PNM gets back in power, so the country can go to the dregs again. We have just seen a turnaround, or it is taking shape, right? And God forbid, had this thing continued 1 year or 2 more years under PNM rule, we would have just be another Haiti in the short space of time. So thank God that the UNC came back into power and they started to restructure things and put some semblance of organization into literally many statutory bodies and ministries and agencies, as everything was haywire in this place, man. As I keep on saying, they deliberately break the system so that they meaning the PNM, can rape the country out. And no one is able to pinpoint who, when, and how the money was lost so that these guys get away scot-free. It's a sad state.
And just imagine in the last meeting, we had people on our side conspiring with them because they vexed, so they for their own selfish gain.
Yeah.
This election was not an easy fight. Look how many people was going against us. Where was their priority? You understand? I mean, they exposed themselves.
Where was the Fab Five within the UNC? The Parry, Rushton Parry, and Anita Haynes, and all these guys.
I don't know what gave Rushton the idea that he could become prime minister and do as well as this prime minister is doing.
Anita Haynes, she was the shadow minister of education.
Totally ungrateful for the kind of things that Mrs. BC did for that young lady. She
Correct,
brought her up,
correct.
you know.
And you know, Gary, not one of them can win their seat, you know, without Kamala's help. Not one of them, none of them can win a seat without the help of the Honorable Prime Minister. Ramona Ramdale. Why did no one fight independent and see if they could win? You know, go and fight their seat as an independent and see if they could win and test their metal.
Listen, man, we have a government, we have a prime minister delivering. I mean, look, she is refurbishing a lot of police cars that they just wasted and have it sitting there. I mean, here we seeing the delivery of it. There's our prime minister. You know, so I mean, the things are moving forward.
That is correct. Excellent. Yep. And it's needed more than ever. These police cars there to fight and to add to the fleet. So we could patrol more roads. We have more coverage. You know, throughout Trinidad and Tobago.
So you see, Ken, when I'm on Captain and Gary, when I say the system is broken, what was the excuse typically when a crime is committed? We don't have a car. So that became the excuse and that became the norm. You know,
they don't have a car, they had a lackadaisical excuse. They will either come in and punch in and go and lie down in the back of the police station, playing cards or making a coke or something.
Yeah, but Gary, that was PNM policy. That was a PNM directive. That the policemen not do that on your own.
So, and you know, and you know something, right? It comes from the top also. Look at the Minister of National Security, a man named Fitzgerald Hines. You could have gotten worse than that, any worse than that? You could have gotten any worse than that? You know, when you bring up an issue, they always try to knock down our senators and the opposition, right? And they always denying, well, bring the evidence, let me see it, right? I remember seeing Scotland, and someone was talking to him about the police, you know, disguising or bandits disguising as police. He said, where's the evidence? I haven't seen anything like that, right?
You're right. But that's the same guy who said when they passed the FPL thing last week, they said that the UNC is discriminating against his constituents. That's the guy.
Implying that members of his constituents.
Well, it's obvious he's telling us that his constituents are criminal. Isn't that what he's saying?
That's exactly the point.
We should ask members of the constituency there to ask him to clarify that.
How do you feel that your representative, your MP has said that, you know, you all are criminals and so on, everybody branded with one brush?
Well, so what he's implying, right?
Yeah, implying, right?
Yeah, so again, when you have him, right, and the next guy, Fitzgerald Hines, two of the worst, and you know when I say worst, that's the worst of the worst, because they have the record 605 homicides in 2022, and only 2 years after to break that record of 624 in 2024, which is last year, right? And we can't even account for the missing persons, right? 100 plus missing persons considered dead. So the worst of the worst, and thank God, again, someone, you made a good point. The UNC came and rescued the country from a free fall. You know, because Crapo smoke with pipe here, we've been worse than Haiti. Sorry to say that way, but you know, it was just total lawlessness and chaos.
Yes, you're right. But you know what?
And you have people at the top there in the last government who how to put this, you know, I mean, they didn't know the elbow from the other body part, right? And you had them there in the highest position, and when you bring serious concerns, they want to knock you down from the opposition perspective. If you're saying, hey, police are committing crimes, they say, well, bring the evidence to me, I haven't seen anything. So you're blind?
They do this in a number of ways, and the first thing they pull is the race card to start with. There's a black man has been replaced by an Indo, all this sudden...
Yeah, the typical race card again, you know.
And they have
You know,
They have the damn press to expound on these things, you know.
that's why we got
They
to knock
have
down the misinformation, right? And
total
fact check it.
thank God for social media, because you know this is helping the younger voters, the younger people see the light on what is exactly happening and why these so-called institutions were left to rot. They were left to
Yeah.
rot under the PNM. And these agencies were there for the benefit of young people. Okay, look at the El Dorado Nursing Institute, which was set up by the UNC. That ensured that we have a constant supply of skilled nurses. Right? They closed that down within a year or two of coming into power, 2016 or 2017. They closed that down. What about the other 400 to 500 trained doctors? I mean, Gary, you know how much money it costs to train a doctor, and when the state took up that expense, you know, under these gate and so on, gate fees, where doctors, I mean, pay the fees for the doctor. It costs like $500,000 per doctor. And when you have 500 of them don't have jobs and they come out deliberately so, and you see there's a shortage, keep on saying there's a shortage of doctors, shortage of doctors, and people suffering in the hospital because, hey, you can't get an appointment in less than a year, or 15 months to go come and do a cataract operation or something like that. It's nightmarish, man. It was vindictiveness. And again, I don't know, but my senses are telling me that these things were there to suffocate a certain ethnic class, because you look and see who are the majority of doctors in and around. Look and see how the majority of scholarship winners are all around. And these are the young people who went and did the hard studies and became engineers and doctors and scientists and what have you, and were discriminated against. Let's don't fool ourselves. On the other hand, when PNM was there, scholarships were given, and nobody, there was not one Indian there, and nobody knew these scholarships were not advertised, and they were given to friends and family, my friend. Friends, and you all remember Joan Newland, right? The lady who masterminded this it was 46 scholarships she gave up, for only to friends and family. Nobody knew about it. Not scholarship was advertised. It's just back of the hand deals, man. Oh, tell me, and now, why don't the press print these things and let people become aware of how this thing transpired? And what was the first geographical bias and then the racial bias? There are two biases there, geographic and racial biases, that occurred when PNM was in power. As they say, after the lighthouse, Trinidad is only from the lighthouse, north of the lighthouse. South of the lighthouse, nobody knows. And I don't know if I still looked at the map recently, the voting map, yellow, and you see from, I would say, 90% of the country is all yellow. That's
if it wasn't for that, someone let me make a point here. If it wasn't for that gerrymandering with Diego Martin East, West, North, and South, and that thing here, the PNM never be in power, they will disappear as a party, right? That gerrymandering of that little spot in the Northwest, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for that, that's just saving grace, right? And thanks to the gerrymandering there, they're in power, right? But they could come back and think, or else they will disappear. Because when you look at the map, the real map, right? 90%, as I was making a point here and I cut across, 90% of the whole island is yellow. Right? So that gerrymandering there, the day we finish with that, or the PNM finish with that, right? or that's dismantled and say, hey, you know what? Let me just go buy this, whatever, you know, or they would
Yes.
never be in government. That party would fail to exist, right? You know. So yeah. So go ahead, Saman. Sorry to cut across. I just want to make
No,
that
no,
point
no, I
there.
was going to make that point. The Northwest, only that little portion in the Northwest is painted red, but
Yeah.
everything else
Yeah.
is yellow. And I was so glad to see finally point forth in La Bresando, West,
You
and
know,
Jersey.
and as Gary mentioned, and you also mentioned, the young people are waking up, right? And whether they're
Well,
Afro, Black child, whatever it is, they're waking up and saying, hey, you know what? If we can, we're not getting anywhere with this party, we're going to switch. And they have a mind of
but
their own. And I
but
commend them for that.
I commend them as well. But you know what was the driver? What made them switch? Ken, we got to identify what is it that made them switch. I'll tell you one thing. They became educated. They received laptops. Never in the history of PNM would have not gotten anything. They were given laptops to study, to be part of the technological revolution which was taking place. It was there to who could not afford to buy a computer for the kid. The kids were given one. So there was a level playing field as far as education goes. So not because my parents were rich and I could buy a computer meant that the others were disadvantaged who didn't have computers. No, 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 no. Mrs. Bessemer said everybody, whether you could afford it or not, every school child for a month
Correct.
were able
What,
to get a computer.
whether you're black,
But
green, or yellow,
yeah,
right? You are a
and
child
I
in
can
in a
tell you,
learning institution, you will get a computer.
yes,
Because
and
it's very
remember,
important in this age
yes,
to have a computer, to be computer literate.
and you know, I had a look, not yesterday, the day before, yesterday, on the new ones they gave out. The new ones is an AI-enabled computer. The little kid over the road by me showed me, Uncle, come and see the new computer I got. If you see, I was so impressed, and his younger sister, his elder brother, all of them so excited and knowing how these. Let me tell you, the kids, you know, when I was 18, I didn't have access to a computer. Yes, these 11 and 12-year-olds, they're doing all these,
Yeah.
you know, sort of things with the computer already, and they even asking, hey, how you know, is the AI enabled? So let's say you have an algebra, something to do. They're learning how to prompt, how to ask the computer for help, which is prompt engineering. So you want to, hey, can you solve, hey, AI, you know, like what you have in Copilot. Hey, AI, can you help me
It is a
solve this
learning tool.
quadratic equation and explain it to me step by step so I can easily understand it? And you guys you get the output, everything, you know, y is equal to this, 4 is that, bam, 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 bam. And it's a learning tool. That's what it is. So now that you have leveled the playing field, don't be surprised. I'm telling you, don't be surprised that in the next generation, next 10 to 15 years, so you see all these kids who were denied and in the countryside, and you never hear them in Baka, Maruga, and Marak, and all these places, that they are the new scholarship winners in the island. Because
exactly,
these
and we
people
want to see
never
that.
had opportunities. And now that they have an opportunity and the playing field is level, so whether you live in West Moorings, going to Fatima or these big colleges up there, QRC, St. Mary's, and the guy who is in Moruga who has to still travel to come to Rio Claro Sec, you know, don't be surprised that in the next 10 to 15, that these guys are the new breed of our professional people in the island.
And Samad, I just want to cut in here for a second. The Prime Minister also mentioned that the key to eradicating poverty is education, right? And we need to educate, and that laptop computer, right, is there to enhance education. It's a learning tool, as you mentioned, with the AI app and stuff, right? is to help people who are falling behind to get ahead. Because now you have
No,
your
in this case,
companion.
nobody is falling behind. Everybody is at the equal footing. So
Yeah,
whether
yeah, because you have that AI app.
yes, but so whether your school had the best, a good math teacher or a good chemistry teacher, and my school don't have a teacher, that's because they don't fill vacancies in the countryside and so on.
Right,
So
right.
students leave writing form 4 forms that don't have a teacher. So
now we see the playing field level.
The playing field level, and know that these students are more charged up. They are more charged up than the students who have everything, because this is an opportunity that they never had. So don't be surprised. And I'm saying, it's my judgment really, is that the laptops that we gave out between 2010 and 2015, the young
Welcome, Anthony.
Afro-Chinese,
Long time, Anthony. Welcome.
The young Afro-Chinese made use of that, and they had put some sense into their heads, and they realized that what the UNC did was something to their benefit.
And we have to continue to encourage them, right?
Yes, of
so
course.
We can see more scholarships.
More
and again,
scholarships.
The Prime Minister said, right?
Yep.
To eradicate education is the only way to eradicate poverty, right? So we need to see more of that, more upward mobility, right? So people can move up that socioeconomic ladder and better themselves and move away from crime.
Yes, you're right. But Gary, you went to Montrose Village, right?
Yes.
Right. What is in
Anthony Ford is in the audience here now, who went to Montrose Village with me.
Right. Let me tell you something. I am born in 1950s, and my dad and son was president of the association. I can tell you the watchword, long before the Prime Minister is saying this, but the watchword in every Vedic school over the front door, you'll see a word written in Sanskrit. It's called Krinvanto Vishwam Aryam. And it simply means make the world noble. Doesn't matter what class, whatever caste you are, or color you are, and all that, make the world noble. Get an education. That's the ticket to out of poverty, out of ignorance.
That's correct.
So that Gary, next time we visit your alma mater, look for that sign, Krinvanto Vishwam Aryam. So that was
I didn't realize Gary went to Shrigona's Vedic.
No, it's not true. It's Montrose Village.
Oh, Montrose.
And there's one across the highway on the other side, Sri Ram Memorial Village.
Okay.
Yeah. And next to me here is Avocat Village. When I lived in Arangua as a couple is next to a Gandhi Memorial Village.
Yeah. My wife went to Montrose Village also.
Yeah. And then the Diana Memorial Village, and Honorable Prime Minister, her 3 grandchildren goes to school there at Diana Memorial Village School. Yeah, my niece is the principal there, and I have 2 other nieces who are teachers there.
But so Samara, we posted, Gary posted a video there with a vehicle reversing at high speed and crashed, and then 2 guys ran out with some high-powered rifles.
Yes, I saw it, but I didn't see any detail where it was in Gandhi. Was that the one in Gandhi?
That's from Sangre Grande, correct. Captain, you saw the video? We can hardly hear you.
Mic is out. Mic
is off.
Yes, right. I did see the video. I think someone died in there, if I remember right.
Check it out.
Welcome here. Welcome.
Just look at the
Go
type
ahead,
of
Alvin. Go
weaponry.
ahead.
Alvin, you saw the gun
Yes,
that fella got there?
yes, yes, yes. I mean, I I would like to know, if there's any detail of, if they're part of a gang, exactly who they are. Because I don't think the police department is looking at the hierarchy of gangs and who they are and where they operate and how they operate. But this is the norm now. These high-powered rifles are the norm in Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, uh, that that would have been smuggled in uh, through the border, most likely on the western side. So, um, hopefully we can go ahead and end that smuggling in the next another 6 months if it continues to go
But
like this.
keep seeing them kind of weapons and thinking about the level of audacity that they have to make so much ruction about people getting FULs. They get a pistol, and you have criminals running around the country with military grade weapons. Go ahead, guys.
Well,
And them PNM voted against this, eh? We have to remember this thing. And this is what you have to stand out.
Yeah,
That the PNM never wants the country to be safe. They prefer to have the criminal elements.
they
make
break
it-
the scanner.
Because that's
Yeah.
their support
They
base.
hijack the radar.
That's their support base.
Yeah. And
Yep. Right.
Captain,
yes.
these high-powered guns, they shoot projectiles about 2,000 plus feet per second,
Yeah. The
right?
M4 or the
Tell us when that
AR-15
hits you. What
about,
happens to you?
well, it's a 5.56 round. It'll go into your body and it's a killing round. That's what the 5.56 round is meant to do. It's meant to kill. It was designed for that purpose. Now, there's a difference with the 5.56 for the AR-15 and a NATO round. The NATO round is a bit heavier, a heavier round, and the tips could be magnesium, and it will glow green or red. So it's stacked 3 in a magazine of 20. Um, it's tracer rounds. That's pretty much what they are. But what we've seen is some of these rounds are being labeled TTPS. So therefore, these would be the heavier loaded rounds for killing. And when it goes in small, and it comes out on the other side very large. And that's what will kill you. Now, with an AR-15, with iron sights, no need for a laser light and all that stuff that you see. Just the iron sight, the front and the tip, the front sight post. You could hit anything with 300 meters with no problem. So even with heavy winds, you're gonna hit it. So if you drop too low, they adjust, and you have a semi-automatic selector on there. You can adjust that if you know what you're doing, and it becomes an automatic weapon. So it'll continue as you squeeze. It'll continue to fire. The M16A1 had a automatic selector switch, but that was changed out because it's not accurate when you run it like that. But if you want to create havoc and mayhem, that's what you want to do. So the AR-15 is a gas activated, so the gas expands and it ejects the cartridge. So when you squeeze, that's how the round is loaded up into the chamber. The United States prefer to use the AR-15 or the M4, which is the military version of it, which is the same. They prefer to use that because it's lighter, it's easier to carry, and also for anyone who is 5'9" and shorter, that is the easier a more accurate weapon to put on your shoulder. There's no recoil on this, so you don't even know that that when you squeeze, there's no jerking of the barrel in front. So it's really accurate. And if used effectively, you can engage with the law enforcement quite effectively with those weapons.
So
If
we
you're in a hot,
sorry.
yes, go ahead.
So
No, go
so
ahead.
what you're saying that we have people in Trinidad who could engage civilians, right? With
Yes,
illegal guns
yes,
who could match or equal or exceed the firepower of the police.
Mm-hmm.
yes, yes. In Afghanistan, in my experience, that's what we carried, the M4, and we'd have at least 20 magazines with us, so loaded. So 40 round magazines, 20 and 20 in each one. Um, you could get a 30 round magazine or 40 round magazine, it's the extended clip. Yes, you can do that, and it doesn't overheat. The barrel will not overheat. It'll take quite a lot of shooting before that happens, or if it'll warp. Um, if you know what you're doing, and your magazine springs are quite new, there's no there's no jamming of anything with these weapons. Uh, they've been designed to fight wars, so they're quite effective. Yes. Um, so to see this on the streets, how effective in the last 6 months has this government been in preventing and seizing this type of equipment? I don't think we've seen large amounts of weapons being seized. But again, we used a particular method, a tactic that we used, and I think that the Prime Minister and her security, Minister of National Security, they should implement this policy, and I think it would alleviate a lot of the individuals who have these weapons. So, you know, it's a simple reach out to the U.S. government. They can guide them, or with the training that they have in now with the U.S. In Trinidad and Tobago, or a simple call to me, and if they want to make it secure, yes, I would tell them, a particular tactic that could be used in this. But I think people are going to get quite desperate in the oncoming 6 months if this continues to have
Mm-hmm.
a total noose around Trinidad and Tobago, and it's tightening with the seizure of large amount of drugs and illegal goods, cigarettes, alcohol, food stuff that comes in from Venezuela, anything that they can make a dollar on, or more than a dollar, I should say. Um, and also the laundering part of this money. So once the money is gotten in Trinidad, how do they make it clean again? And I think that there is an entity in Trinidad and Tobago that deals with looking at large deposits, and I think it's a simple thing, but I don't think that the police department or whoever the law enforcement are in charge of that. They're not, or they haven't convicted or looked at anyone. It's always saying, well, we see suspicious activities, but no one's investigating. And
Mm-hmm.
I think here in the United States with the IRS, when you can't get somebody for something illegal, you look at the money, and that's where the RICO Act came in here in the United States, and they enact the RICO Act, and they can put you away for a long time for having that illegal money. So I think that's something that under this government, and we have numerous now ministers of national security and a new police commissioner. And I think we have aid from the United States now. They may extend the DEA and FBI agents to Trinidad and Tobago. And I think the Prime Minister should reach out and have a fusion with those entities. And I think if you guys are aware, there was an OCCP set up in Trinidad, OCC. Um, I'm not going to say where it was. However, there's no one manning that stuff in there. So it was beyond me why it wasn't being used. Again, somebody has a vested interest in not to be enforcing anything. So that is what the problem is in Trinidad and Tobago.
Captain, quick question. Just for the acronym, the OCC, just for the audience.
Operations Coordination Center. You'd hear the former police commissioner and national security minister talk about it, Gary Griffith. But you don't know where it is, and you don't know how many people are in there that's manning this OCC. So I could tell you how many people that you need in there. You need intelligence, you need the S2, and you need an S3 group in there, and you need the police department on the outside, and you also need human intelligence, you need signal intelligence, and you need electronic warfare, and also you need to have the Coast Guard in some kind of fusion happening, and one person in there being the commander controlling this. And if they can't get that together, then it's only a name and it's just an office space.
And that is what I mistaken. These things were deliberately left to rot so that the PNM boys can do whatever they want. And there's no paper trail, on anything. On anything. The agency, what Captain is talking about, is the FIU.
Yeah.
You know, that, you go to the bank, you have to fill out the source of funds
yeah.
for everything. So you could track. But interestingly, what he's mentioning, the IRS, I don't know why they don't do that same system over here. All you have to do, follow the money trail. Okay, if you're working for $10,000 a month and your lifestyle, what cars you're driving, how many cars you have, what house, how many houses you have, is say, no, with $10,000 a month, you can't sustain that lifestyle. You've got to be earning something close to $30,000 a month. Then where's the extra $20,000 coming from? And since you have not declared that in your income tax statement, right away, there's, evidence to show that you are earning money somewhere along the line. Of course, illegally, because it's not showing up into the taxation system. So there are lots of ways you could come back and catch these people.
So definitely, someone. So the public is at risk when we have these high-powered military-grade guns in the hands of criminals all throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Right, that is a risk right there.
Well, the bullet travels. Stray bullets travel, and it can penetrate walls. And I know. I'll tell you what's effective in stopping those bullets: dirt. So unless you have your house surrounded by sandbags or HESCOs, those bullets can go right through a red brick that they use in Trinidad and Tobago. It can go through a window.
Easily.
So,
and
if you
see them testing it also.
Yes.
Even though if it's loaded, the concrete blocks, if they are loaded with the concrete and so on inside with steel rebars.
No, it won't go through. A 5.56 won't go through that, but a hollow clay red block, it will go through because it's plaster on the outside.
A 9mm will run through
built on hollow clay red blocks.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you're in your house, if your house is built out of a red clay blocks, red bricks, they call it, right? And you hear a shootout, I think you should move to the core of that building. Right, Captain? What do you think? Where should
I go into my foundation block size in the back.
Yeah. And just drop in the ground.
Yeah.
Get on the ground and get right on the ground and get flat. Make yourself small and flat on the ground.
Yep. No, but this is a very serious situation, man.
With the situation now in Trinidad, this. So if you build in a house, make sure that you have your walls solid, just as well you want to put burglar proofing on your windows and your doors, you may want to make sure that that you can't take a sledgehammer or a bullet can come through it in that aspect. But I think the guns have been allowed to fester. We had one person who was a YouTuber. He came to Trinidad and he was arrested, Canadian.
Christmasless. The guy's name is Christmasless.
Say again? Yes.
The guy's name is Christmasless.
And, yes, Christmasless. And they said that he said that he had done this, going into these areas, and he is being tried, and not the people on the videos. No, so these people are allowed to continue with their criminal activities, and I didn't look at his videos. I don't look at his videos, but I imagine that he went through quite a number of places. But he said that one particular former Minister of National Security didn't like that he exposed what was happening in that part of Trinidad and Tobago, and it is his belief that it was the government arm reaching out at that time to punish him for having all of these videos that he did expose what was going on in that part of the country. And yet to date, I haven't seen anybody try to figure out the number of people that are in that area conducting those sort of criminal activities. I haven't seen any arrests or anything like that. I haven't seen any convictions. And it continues. But I think with this new government that's in place, and I think with the United States being just north of Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela, and sometimes over Trinidad, I think that this is the best opportunity for us, the government, to reach out and ask for all the help that they can get at this moment in time. If they're able to eradicate Trinidad as a transshipment point, they do have one major problem: to create jobs for the unemployed people who would be displaced from not having anything to do.
That's a good point. And I believe what is key also, a key component, is education, right? Educate people, right? Ensure that they don't fall off the tracks, right? That they stay in school. We have all the resources to keep them in school, right? Get that education, come out, graduate, get a job, earn that experience, because the war on drugs or the war on any ills of society, right? And the war on poverty is to educate people,
And it's far cheaper.
We were talking about these guys, these 7 guys who Trump round up, 7 Trinidadians, right? I mean, they don't look like doctors and lawyers or anybody with any skills. They're charged with rape and drug trafficking and murder and homicide and all this kind of stuff, aggravated manslaughter and stuff. I mean, they label them as the worst of the worst.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
So these guys already condemned. They already jumped off the cliff. But the others, the young people who are approaching that cliff and may someday jump off or fall off or get pushed off, those are the ones we need to rescue, right? We need to get the resources and rescue them before they fall over the cliff. Samad?
Totally agree, Captain and Ken. I'm all for it, man. We have to seize the opportunity while it's hot.
Right.
And make it count. They have to. This administration has to make it count. Let whoever wants to brand you as being unpopular, let them do it, because sensible people will adjudicate and see that what you're doing is in the best interest of everybody. So, you wouldn't go away with the naysayers. The Honorable PM had a lot during her lifetime. So just do what you think is right And as I said, the average citizen, once their level of safety can be improved, I'm sure they will buy into it. So you don't have to be scared of these things. And this is an opportune time to start at least the process.
That is correct. 100%. 100%. Well said, yes, Sumad. You know, give the people the computers, the kids in school, right?
I'm telling you,
Computer literacy is important. You know, that's a learning tool. That's an enhanced learning tool with this new AI app and stuff that you guys have incorporated in the system, right?
Yeah.
So I hope to see more scholarship winners from all parts of Trinidad, you know, even in the inner cities, winning scholarships and stuff.
And
educate people.
And in the remote areas as well.
Correct.
You know, these guys who had nothing to do with stealing, picking mangoes, people by yards and so on, they will now find themselves doing something useful.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And also, you could now connect via the
But
internet.
you know, man, you could start stealing mangoes and graduate into other things. So we have to cut out that nonsense where you feel stealing mangoes is okay. You go and you ask your neighbor. You go and you ask your neighbor for some mangoes. You don't go and knock down the mangoes without permission. People
they don't ask you, Gary. These guys, most of these guys who cut grass, they don't ask you that. They watch you in your face, jump over your wall and pick two orange out.
But that is the culture developed under the PNM. That, that they were given permission to do that. That's why they're trying to have us under so much restraint.
I agree with you. They were given permission to do that. You could feel freely to take from those who have, you know, who catch your butts working.
What people work hard for, you could walk in there and take. That's okay. You could go do that.
Yes.
But the city, we put up some restraints, so that is why you see eruption.
Yeah. But you know, coming back to the grand scheme of things, you know, we have to create opportunity. We have to create jobs.
Welcome, Lana.
Well, you know,
go ahead, guys. Go ahead.
You know,
because I always say one thing, that jobs have to be created, opportunities have to be given to people. But if you're not educated, how can you get the job? You know, it's a chicken and egg situation. Not because you know you don't have an education, but you can develop a skill.
Right.
I'm looking for a tailor right now, and I can tell you, all of Sipario Old Road, Avocat, Pricebad, St. John, Akbar, San Francisco, I can't find the tailor. I cannot find the tailor. You know?
I don't know, maybe we should make a public announcement here, Sumad.
Yeah.
If anybody's a tailor in your area, was it Faizabad?
Yeah.
Right, Sumad is looking for a tailor. Sumad, what you want to sew? A suit or something, or pants?
I didn't have enough suit. I stopped wearing suit. I wear t-shirt now for everything.
Okay.
Yeah, no, nice.
But that is an important skill.
Listen,
right? That is an important skill like anything else. You know.
I have to go so far to get a little rounds off the back of my hair. Travel like 2.5 miles to go to a barber to get a little rounds. $45. So check out how profitable that is. It doesn't give less than 5 minutes.
Yeah. So there are many things that we can train people with, and then,
mechanic, my friend, mechanic. There are so many
with
cars.
all learning institutions, UTT, YTEP,
we
all
need
these different things, you know.
We need some mechanic for them police cars.
Yeah, we could train and certify guys to maintain the vehicles.
Right? Electricians, plumbers, all these. There are so many trades available. So when you say create employment, yes, I can create. The government can create employment, but you know, if you don't know how to calculate, not even know the base of mathematics to say this is 20 square feet, my living room is 20 square feet. How much are you going to charge me for that? They cannot tell you because they don't know the cost of their labor, how many tiles you need, how many tin sets, and grouting and all these things. They cannot calculate these things. I mean, don't want to say they're so dumb, but they were always say the system has failed them. How can the system fail you when you're playing the arts in school? You don't come into school, you prefer to go online, this and that. When other students beating their butt, studying by night under different conditions, and at the end, when you earn something, you get a good job, that guy has money, let me go by him. I can get away. You know, the statistics say only 2% or 3% get caught. I could take that gambler man. He has money, let me go in his house and get some money. See, this is the thing.
Yeah. Someone, I just want to make a next point here. I think we missed this. I'm not sure if Gary posted it. There was a couple that was robbed, right? And the wife got stabbed or slashed in her wrist or something in a PriceSmart basement parking. I'm not sure if it's Shogunas or that PriceSmart is up north.
Yeah,
where that PriceSmart is.
There's one down south here, is Laramine.
So yeah, there was a couple. I think they own some kind of racing company center with parts or something like this to that effect. But the wife, the husband, they went shopping at PriceSmart and they parked in the basement parking, and the bandits were already sitting in the vehicle there waiting for them, according to the article. And there was a struggle. I guess the woman tried to struggle with the bandit. You know, she didn't want to give up her belongings, her purse or whatever. And the guy slashed her in her wrists, you know, with a knife. And they got away with the belongings. So this Christmas, I think we have to be extra careful how people are moving around there, right? And these bandits and these people are getting more and more desperate, seeing that the drugs, the supply chain is disrupted, right? Is being disrupted. So they are going to, as Captain mentioned a couple nights ago, we are going to see an increase in some of these robberies, you know, muggings and stuff.
And you add one piece of information to the mix with, you know, people getting back pay and all the salaries next from the 17th onwards. It's going to create a real avenue. You know, the 10% payouts, you know, is coming along. Part of it is coming along this month just for the Christmas. So that's quite right, Ken. We've got to be extremely vigilant on how we traveling, how we taking out monies, and you know, this is a time, you know, a lot of parents taking the kids to the malls and all these things to shop, like, you know, and yet you have to be sensitized to what's happening in their environment, you know.
You have to be aware. And someone even us taking a maxi taxi. Now they're robbing the maxi taxi.
Yeah, you saw what happened. The guy.
So best. So when you go in a maxi taxi, it's best you take your ID and the majority of the money and put it in your socks and just keep a couple dollars. Correct. So when those fellas rob the maxi taxi, you have it. Say, hey, take it. Right. This is all I have. Yeah. I mean, we live in a time where we have to think like this, right? And this didn't start just a few months ago, you know. This started, you know, and it was encouraged because of the incompetence of the last government, right? Yes. 10 years of neglect and incompetence. They allowed the country to decay, open borders, everyone to float, to sail in and out. The radar not working properly, right? Among other things, the scanner in the ports. A couple months, about 2 months ago, they intercepted a barrel filled with guns or something and drugs coming through some one of these bond center somewhere there in El Socorro somewhere.
El Socorro, yeah.
Now think about the number of years this thing have been happening, right? So again, the last government was a total failure when it comes to fighting crime and protecting the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Total failure.
The society, upliftment of the society.
605 homicides and then 624. Shattered the old record just last year, right? These numbers, we should not forget these numbers. No. Those are historic numbers. And they reflect the incompetence. You know, when I talk about someone being incompetent, I was supposed to be able to support that. I like to use that homicide that, right, in 2022 and 2024. And also 100+ persons gone missing, they just vanished, right, without being accounted for. Some of them probably dead, right? And that could even push the numbers much higher, right?
Yes.
Instead of 624, we could be flirting with 700,
Yes.
right? So again, the PNM government has failed the people of Trinidad and Tobago when it comes to protecting their right to safety. And the proof are in the numbers, right? It's not like we're reading that off a comic book or something, you know. Look, the numbers right there, right? You know, and this government, you could look at the performance, 46% reduction, 40% down from same time last year, right? From 561 to 3 something, 381 to 206, a 46% reduction. You know, so again, performance right there, 561 to 333, right? Same period last year to this year. That's a 40.6% reduction. So it shows the effectiveness of the government and their strategy and their plan is working, right? You know, but we need to keep fighting the good fight. Again, we've seen a war on drugs. We've seen the amount of drugs that's been seized. And look, we have these guys here. These guys are set to make their president to make their crime debut in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, I mean that guy in the bottom left right hand corner there, he remind me of that singer from Great Britain, Scary Spice. Somebody, you know Scary Spice?
Yeah.
They had the same hairstyle.
Yeah.
But coming back to this here, how are we going to deal with these guys when they land in Trinidad and they're roaming free? Because these are career criminals, they're hardened criminals, the worst of the worst.
They've graduated, man. They've graduated.
Right? The worst of the worst. So they are going to be in Trinidad, and how are we going to deal with these guys? How are we going to monitor them? Are we going to put an ankle bracelet as the depart Piaco? Or are we going to take them and process them somewhere? You know, I hope this COP has a plan to deal with this, right? You know, because these fellas ain't going to come back and want to go and lay bricks and cut grass and stuff, you know, with a weed whacker and stuff, you know. They're looking to rob and to probably get back in the same line of business that they were in.
Easy way.
Right?
Join gangs, gang leaders, and form their own little groups around the place, you know, terrorizing.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, one of them was charged with and convicted of statutory rape, right? So these are, you know, some of them are sex offenders. And we need to have a list to monitor these people to see where they're living. If they come in to live next to you.
Registry.
Somebody imagine one of these guys moving next to you.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
You're sure right. You're sure right.
You know? So they will be distributed all over, scattered all over Trinidad and Tobago.
Then
right?
you're making me feel, then I have to go down Venezuela to buy one of these little things, toys to make sure I'm happy, and reinforce my house with, you know, foundation blocks, poured concrete into it, and then I'll be happy. I'll sleep with that side the bed.
Ken, have you seen the sex registries website in Trinidad and Tobago?
No, I haven't seen that.
I don't think there's one, you know.
Yes, I looked it up, right? Recently, I've been looking at it. And they may have about 10 people on it. That's it.
10?
Yeah. It could be less than 10, but I'm giving it 10, right? And I read through some of their crimes, what they were convicted of. And, you know, here in the U.S., in where I live, you can go on the sex registry website and it'll tell you the house that they live in, and then it gives you a map where these people are, especially if you have little kids. And I tend to go and look at it. My degree is in criminal justice. My master's is I have 2 masters, but I studied that at Georgia Southern, and I did look at sexual deviance. Was my focus, and also how to build prisons, like supermax prisons, and to have the inmates work in there as restorative justice, and also by having them work, they would learn a skill, but it'll also prevent them from having time on their hands to be doing illegal things in prison. But I've looked at the website in Trinidad and Tobago, and the Chief Justice, I think he may be the person in charge of the courts, but they have to have some kind of connectivity between that website and when the judgment is done, and how they monitor these people. Because I don't think they're being monitored, and I don't think they're using a Google indicator where WASA is using a Google indicator and TNTech is using a Google indicator. So if I generate my street light is out, and I put the bill that I have, it comes straight to that address that the bill is on, and you can actually zoom down to where your electricity light is and your poles and stuff like that. So TNTech has that ability, and WASA has the ability to report leaks also. However, the Trinidad and Tobago under national security and that law enforcement doesn't have more than 10 people on that registry, showing that these people could be repeat offenders and continue to engage in these crimes. There's no DNA legislation. I don't know if they passed anywhere they can collect it and store it. And this is important because a lot of times you hear that a rape has occurred, and the person can't really describe or give a clear-cut description of that person. And then if you go to court, well, it's that person's word against the accused, and it could go any ways it could go according to how, if it's a judge or it's a jury or whatever system they use there. But I'm saying if you have you have the DNA legislation where you're able to collect DNA and go ahead and use that as a crime fighting tool. I think it'll go a long way in reducing sexual crimes in Trinidad and Tobago.
A lot of crimes too.
And we should look into that, and we should have a database, right? To start collecting that data, right? So if you have a repeat offender and there's evidence collected, then we could cross-check it, and we can say, okay, this is the man that did that committed that crime, because we have the evidence.
You run that,
and it could be used in court again to put him away. That's hard evidence.
Yes.
And not doing that. There's so many. You see, we're still working in the fingerprinting age. And as I said, within 24 hours.
And they use an anchor. If you go to get a police character certificate in Conopia Police Station, you gotta wait for the officer that does it, and he or she may be coming one day per week, or they may have it a particular day, and you go. And then you use ink, and then you go around the building. There's a pipe, and you wash your hand there, and then you carry on. So I think that fingerprinting is being done on a scanner type system now, and it goes into a database.
All right.
And it's checked quickly. However, in Trinidad and Tobago, that has to go up to Port of Spain. I don't know what happens when it gets up to wherever in Port of Spain, and how the checks are being done. Because if you have no database to run fingerprints, then what are you checking it against?
Yeah.
Well, database is one thing. What if you tell you they have no ink? The ink run out. And you have to come back again next week.
Again, in my experience, they had a lot of ink. They did. The officer did well and got all my fingers done. And the pipe outside had a lot of pressure, so I did wash my hand. But I'm saying that I think the police station in Quinnipiac, if you know where it's at, there's a lot of derelict vehicles out there. It's like a junkyard.
Is that on the main
I
road?
think, yeah, the
Standard
one on the main
Yes,
road.
by
Yeah.
as you pass
Yeah, the
that
one
Las
next
Lomas Junction or
close
something
to
near that T
the
junction,
junction.
somewhere around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I know where it is. That's in the southern main road
These
there.
police stations,
On-
I've been in the one in Chaguanas. A lot of these police stations, they're not secured. The way it's designed, the system is outdated. There's no security there. You could walk right on in. So I think the national security, if they're not using part of the budget for air surveillance, they're not using it for patrolling because they don't need offshore patrol vehicles anymore because they have the US there. They should look at spending some money in building new secured police stations in strategic location, especially in Central, because Central is a really large is a really large area. I think it might have a larger population than Port of Spain,
Well,
because it spreads out.
and
Yes.
Captain, you made a good point there. And you know what I would like to see also, just to add to what you just mentioned, I would like to see smaller satellite stations, right, placed strategically along the highways and major nodes, right? Like how we have the highway patrol here, the Florida highway patrol. Those guys have their station on the turnpike, right?
Yes.
So they come straight out, they can
FHP.
intercept, right?
Yeah.
FHP, yeah. They only on the
Move them,
turnpike.
put them along the major alignments for some of these thoroughfares on the highway itself, off the
Yes.
highway, so they could jump in and out,
Yes.
or they could lock down the highway, right? Or they could lock down the roadways once they get a call that something has just occurred here, and the guy is driving a white Nissan wagon and he's headed southbound on the Uriah Butler Highway just before the bird sanctuary. Next 5 minutes, he should be at the bird sanctuary. They should be able to stop him right there, right? And they should now have their satellite police stations, small police stations, set up, strategically placed and positioned and ready to go. I think they'll be much more effective than have everyone converging in a big station and they're sitting, relaxing, cooking and eating and just sitting around there saying that we don't have a car to respond to an incident or a call, right? Fix the cars, give them the resources, and put them in different small stations throughout the communities. We could have one in every single community, right? Where they can interface with watch groups and stuff and have meetings and talk about what's happening in the community and build that bond. Because crime fighting is not just with the police, it has to be community involved also.
Yeah,
right?
the community starts
Because
in the community.
members of the community will tell you who are the drug dealers, who's selling the drugs,
Simple,
where's the block, and
simple.
who's the man running that block, right?
Mhm.
And that's how you're going to get information. And once the drug dealers and the unproductive members of society who are in illicit activities, once they know that the police are there, present, and talking to the community watch groups and members of the communities, they know that they will be exposed. It's just a matter of time. So I think we have to be strategic in how we looking at crime fighting in Trinidad. But the captain made a very good point there. Some of these stations look like they're dilapidated with old derelict vehicles and stuff just there lying around the place outside the station.
Well, the way the police station was built, it was built as though this was 1979.
This is the
And,
point. Exactly the point. Yes.
It's not a hardened facility. For example, the Bessel police station over there. I know where it's at, but I'm concentrating on the ones in Quinnipiac and Chaguanas. Chaguanas is a two-floor building, and there's a lot of activities going on in that building. A whole lot of activities, and that space, that area should become like a satellite station. But they need to relocate a bigger facility where you have more of the administrative type of thing working. And I don't know who came up with the idea to build a library on the corner of the courthouse in that side street. The space is not there. They need to go out there and get about 300 acres of land and build a multi-purpose facility with the police station and the courthouse. But everything is so choked up. There's no parking. There's people standing up on the roads. If you go by that courthouse, you'll see court cases going on every day or whatever they have their courts. But there's lots of people standing outside, and you have the JP office. You gotta have if this is your system, make it efficient. Make it efficient, and it's not convoluted. That and inefficient for the people who were before the court. So these cases can go by quickly, and these people either they pay for their crimes, and they move on and become productive people in society, opposed to you drag this thing on for 14, 15 years, 20 years, and you have a man in limbo, or sitting in remand yard or whatever. But the Chief Justice, I mean, I think he's the man that makes the policies for the judicial part of the government there and the efficiency. But I know the government said, the UNC government said that they are planning on building a new prison, which is, I think it's a real good idea. The prison that they have in Golden Grove is not efficient. It's old, it's outdated. And the other thing about that prison, you can't run jammers in there because you will disrupt the signals at the airport. So it's too close. So whenever they say, "Oh, we got jammers over there, it ain't working," no, that's the reason why you can't be running any kind of jammers over there. It's too close.
And that's important also when choosing a location.
Yes.
So you made a very good point there.
And again, like I said before, I don't see anything wrong with prisoners having cell phones, and having the ability to call outside. No problem. We monitor everything.
I think that's an asset for law enforcement if you have a really good planned out strategic system, because you can know where they're making the calls to, where the calls coming in from.
You clone the phone, as Captain said. You clone the phone. Give them it and let them make the calls, and
do what they want with it.
And you could now track. You have evidence. You have a trail.
You have a trail.
Yeah, you map out the network, and you have your high value targets. Who's the head of this person? Who's the second in command, third? And if you take one out, who's gonna fall in place. I mean, you have everything. Sometimes you may not want to take the whole gang out. You might just want to leave it there to get to the bigger and bigger person who is most likely outside, because inside Trinidad and Tobago, there's no money to be made. The money, the stuff that makes the money comes from outside. Somebody is just a facilitator, the big facilitator in Trinidad and Tobago. So I think there's a lot that has to be done with law enforcement. I think in the next year in January coming up, whoever's listening on the net here, I want you to look at the carnival and see how much money is being generated and where it's coming from. If it's actual money generated from FETs, or if it's money from elsewhere. And I think the people should be very cautious. The government should be cautious with the amount of drugs that's being stopped and seized. And those drugs, it's going to have a repercussion. People are going to want their money. And the smaller guys there who are in Trinidad and Tobago, and if they lose it, you're gonna see an upsurge in crime. You're gonna see again an upsurge in petty crimes. Well, I call it petty, but it might be serious crimes with home invasions and robberies. And I think another thing is the people that commit crimes, they should be made to pay restitution to the states, especially when it comes to healthcare. They are a strain on the medical healthcare system in Trinidad and Tobago. A lot of money is going into paying for gunshot wounds, for dead bodies, forensics. And the state is supposed to pay for that. And you're just supposed to be a citizen, but we catch you doing this. No, I think legislation has to be passed that these people are made to pay. This freeness and a drain to the state is too costly. I think it's a lot of wasted monies in aiding these people.
So what would you suggest once we capture the prisoners? What would you suggest?
No, let me just butt in a little bit there. cost of maintaining a prisoner, it was calculated to be like $38,000 per year in Trinidad.
38,000 taxpayer dollars per year.
Correct. And that is basically, that's for the basics. Doesn't cover dental and all these things. Basics. My solution would be, you will starve to death, let your family come and feed you. Let them provide the food to feed you. Because that should not be my expense or your expense or my children or grandchildren expense to feed you.
Yeah, but you see somebody will cry human rights violation there. Right?
Yes, human right. But where was the right when you killed somebody? Where is that person's right?
But here's something. Why don't we, like how they do sometimes in the States, put you on a bus and have you go out there and clean up, certain the beaches and pick up garbage and stuff like this and beautify the area?
The labor. They need to go out there and they need to work. And, they work from 6 in the morning till 6 in the afternoon. I think they won't have time to be idle and on cell phones and committing crimes from inside. I think yes, Sama, go ahead.
Many years ago, many years ago, when I used to pass Golden Grove, there used to always see people in their blue coveralls planting all this cabbage and all this sort of thing. I don't know if they still do those things. They do the farming, to help sustain their life. So they plant their vegetables and what have you.
Samad, you know where Golden Grove is there? Centennial at the back of the airport.
Yes, I know, not the southern side of it. Southern side of the Golden Grove.
Right, there's a company there now, Fine Choice Cocoa, and
Fine Choice Cocoa, yes, yes,
and they're exporting the guys from England and sending the stuff off to England, right? But that entire estate, it's abandoned. And while I was there, we had people from certain parts of the world coming to Trinidad because there's a genome in those cocoa fields. That's one of the oldest cocoa fields in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And disease resistant. So what they're doing, they're grafting from that onto the stock elsewhere.
West Africa, I know about it very, very, very well.
Right.
Because
so
they tried to use that gene to upgrade all the other cocoas all over the world to bring up their quality on par to Trinidad quality, all the West African cocoa and Colombian and Venezuelan cocoa and so on. I had a guy from Europe. Anyway, you continue.
I was just going to say it's a legacy asset like that we have. And we're not monetizing it in the sense that we have prisoners a stone throw away that could be bussed over there and put to go ahead and manually clean that place up. You keep these people and them, employed, and it's a skill, It's a skill to do what I'm talking about and understanding how cocoa works. Everything is a skill. But I'm saying that, and you out there for a period of working there.
Yes.
It's going to be a deterrent for you to want to come back in if you don't like it. But it would generate a lot of money for Trinidad and Tobago.
Excellent. But you see, I don't know if you know, on the southwest corner of that estate, Golden Grove, there's the Blue Waters factory. But Blue Waters bottling, I should say, because it's not a factory, it's a bottling works they have.
That's Orange Grove. I'm talking about Golden Grove. Orange Grove.
Golden Grove. Sorry, yes. Oh, my mistake. Correct. You're right. That's Orange Grove. Yeah. But I happened to grow up in a cocoa family. Yeah, we had a cocoa coffee estate and so on. And our quality was so good that when I went up to Pennsylvania, Washington already, but I went to Hershey's factory and I saw our own cocoa bags, Sing's cocoa. we had an agent in Superior that they collected from all the farmers around south in the south and deep south and shipped it directly to Hershey's in Pennsylvania. By the way, I had a guy from Europe, Dr. Rauch. He was from Germany. He has 4,000 outlets in Europe. 4,000 cocoa outlets selling chocolates, specialty chocolates. I brought him down to Trinidad to look at Trinidad, and he found that, again, what you were saying, Captain, our cocoa is such of a high standard. He found it to be like 96% pure compared to Colombian and Venezuelan, which just touched about in the 80s, mid-80s. And the West African cocoa was in the 60s, 70s percentile. And he would say, okay, can you get some farmers for me? I'm going to fund all these farmers, fund them, pay them for the cocoa. I'll process the cocoa in Trinidad so you make more value added. More monies are made in the cocoa production rather than selling the cocoa to the agents and so on. Let the farmers themselves become processors, and they process it in what's called cocoa liquor. And he will buy the cocoa liquor and go and do all his manufacturing in Germany or Switzerland, Belgium, and all over the Europe. But he came in 2004. He came back again in 2006. Nothing transpired out of that. The guy just got fed up and left. He was willing to do so much, to invest a lot of capital into the island and for the benefit of the farmers, process it, a partial processing down the road. So we earn more monies, and the government never took up, but it's a monopoly. You see, this is the thing. There's a monopoly. The agents who own it's called the so-called, I'll say it now, these are the French Creoles. You cannot get into that category of exporting on your own. Even when the UNC was there, the same cabal was there. That French Creole class of the cocoa buyers and so on, you could not have broken into that clique. It was all manipulated, monopolized. So these are a lot of systems have to be changed and rejigged and so on. And, a lot of private cocoa entrepreneurs are springing up all over. Good quality. I myself have gotten, a lot of raw beans and trying to resuscitate it for my own health and my family's health. Make my own chocolate, because my mother used to make it at home, was a little bit, what we did not export. We made it home, and I grew up on that home cocoa tea and cow's milk, half and half. Same thing with coffee. I knew coffee con leche and all these things long before I went to Miami to know what is coffee con leche or black coffee and all these things. But they sell you now all this flavored coffee and what have you in Starbucks. These things, I knew my coffee, half cow's milk and half coffee. Yeah, that's just cool tea. So what I'm saying, the thing is that we have, or we really don't know what we have. A lot of things can be monetized into specialty things. We should never be buying chocolate. And what he's selling for the kids is just milk and, milk and sugar, not real chocolate. And the same thing goes with coffee as well. Arabica coffee or the Robusta coffee, they're the best in, but then again, processing it, taking it to the next level is where the challenge is. And that's why where most help is needed for these small farmers and so on. Yeah.
So maybe the Minister of Agriculture have to look at that Orange Grove Cocoa Estate there and maybe try to get it revamped and protected. Because
Yes,
if that is a specific unique strain, right? Then that's an asset.
that's a gene bank. The gene bank is
Correct, a gene bank.
yeah. It's Helen Uwe has it, Cocoa Research Unit.
This is in Sentinel. So you go at the back of the airport and you go straight across. Instead of you going back to Mousker Road, you go straight up. Then you'll see on your right hand side. Town is called, it starts with a C, it's slipping me what it is. But just before there, you'll see that estate. It's a Spanish name, which I don't remember right now. And the Caroni River is that straddles the Caroni River, which I didn't know. So it's quite a large. I forget how many acres it is, but there are people working in there. It's still being run by the government. But I'm saying if you have labor sitting in Grove Prison, take them out there and you have them start cleaning up. Because if it's 400 or 500 acres, I'm sure that they can't finish cleaning the whole thing. Because when they finish on one side, they go to the other side, and you keep people. That would keep people not wanting to go back to commit crime or find another avenue of work. And if I have somebody convicted for 20 years, I get you get 20 years good service out of them. I would think. The government wanted to put people and giving them a bed and a room to stay in with TV and time to go and study and all of that. Yeah, a lot of people would study, but there's a lot of people they can't or they wouldn't want to do an educated kind of thing and prefers to be outside. And I think education is good, but you could be educated in another way. In agriculture, you could be educated in mechanical stuff. So I think there's a lot of things that the government has to try to do to prevent this crime from happening and continue a cycle of crime. Create more agricultural jobs for these people. And also, right now in Tobago, the roadways are a mess with overgrown bushes and stuff like that. A lot of these people can get out there and do it. Here in Georgia, I see them all the time cleaning on the side of the highways and the local roads over here. So, there's a lot of things that can be done, with these people who continue to be criminals and will continue to be criminals. So I think you have to go ahead.
Yeah, and Captain, you made a good point there, right? If it is that we're spending about 38,000, or let's say 40,000 to maintain each inmate, right? We could take out these guys in groups of 10, which are manageable, and have them work in throughout Trinidad doing stuff, cutting the grass, then have them sitting in prison and the taxpayers paying 40,000 to take care of each prisoner inmate. So yeah, have them, put them to work, put them to something useful that could contribute, and save money. At least it could offset some of their costs for being in prison there.
Correct.
And the burden of the taxpayers.
Yes.
I
could hardly hear.
Yeah, if you have 6 people per cell, you go ahead and you work a shift system. It's 24 hours in a day. When I work in the army, we work 24 hours. So, these criminals, I think, they're getting a good deal out of this, sit around doing nothing all day long. I think the government needs to get some sort of work program for them. I think
picking up garbage, in the US, right? Cleaning the drains. There's so much stuff that they could do.
They would augment the corporations. They would augment the city corporations by cleaning up, and also have a clean city, a clean town, tourism. So again, it doesn't stop there. The beaches.
The beaches are horrible in Trinidad with garbage. I don't think we have enough people to clean up that beach. But we do have a lot of prisoners, and it's a long coastal line on the east side. So
Well,
there's a lot of paper, styrofoams, ropes that needs to be picked up.
yeah.
So much.
Well, yeah. Well, we also have to look at the candidates for this type of work, because you don't want to have hardened criminals among tourists and stuff, right?
No,
Right.
So the ones who have committed petty crimes, right, and serving a 5 years or whatever, put them out there, put a bracelet on them, and tell them if they try to escape, we will add some more time to their prison sentence.
exactly.
Have them clean up the beaches, pick up all the beer bottles and all sort of stuff lying around the place there, all the styrofoam containers and water bottles and stuff floating around the place there, and beautify the place. Make a positive contribution and pay back your debt to society. Samad?
Yes, I agree with you. Some thoughts just ran through my mind. You could just put all of them in that man's stretch and clean up the beach, just like some seaweed.
Yeah.
All over
Check your mic,
Mayaro.
guys. I don't know if it's Alvin or Suman. Somebody, a mic is cannot give us
Somebody
that.
mic making noise there. Yeah.
Yeah, let them clean up the whole beach from Manzan to Mayaro, Guaya, because that seaweed, Sagasam seaweed, it's
That
bad
is a
for
global
the
problem,
Yes, it's part of the global warming. And to
Yep.
tie that into another problem they have is coral bleaching. So when you tie those two together, it means death of a lot of the fauna and flora underwater flora. And as we know that these are the fishing spawning beds, and when that happens, it means that a couple of years down the road, your fish production declines. So it's a chaining effect, that's happening. So
I want to jump back to the radar. Captain, you think we could deploy more radars throughout Trinidad and have it there set up permanently, and the US could monitor that remotely?
Well, the U.S. government placed that radar in Tobago.
Yep.
That radar is on wheels, and there's a tow hitch on it. So basically, a Humvee or a military vehicle just puts a tow hitch on it and it moves it. Then it gets on site, and it is set up quickly. And once power is hooked up, it runs. So that radar is a good piece of equipment, and it's monitoring from Tobago to the north side of Trinidad and Tobago. Just like air surveillance with camera systems, 360, being placed over Port of Spain, Caroni Swamp, Little in the Central, and you have like an overlapping with one another. So you create line of sight, and these cameras that look there in those air pieces of equipment, there's also equipment that can listen on to electronic transmissions that's happening on cell phones. So you could have eyes and ears located 360, because Trinidad and Tobago is 100 kilometers by 53 roughly. So yes, it could be done. Not only with radar, but with also air surveillance, fixed air surveillance that could be moved at periodic times, depending on weather conditions and wind and maintenance. So I think now is the opportunity to do it. So perhaps Tobago, I remember reading that they had beacons. So every registered boat in Tobago that belongs to Tobago has a beacon or should have a beacon. They should have somewhere that will be being monitored. So if you have 1,000 boats out there that registered with name and the owner, and we see this boat moving and we don't see a ping on it, then you would want to send a vessel out there to intercept it and see who that is. It could be that it's malfunctioning. It could be that it doesn't belong to Trinidad and Tobago. I think that was being done in Tobago. I'd never heard of anything being done like that in Trinidad. So that's something.
That was an initiative. We did that. I was part of that project in 2013, 14, 15, around there. And was on the technology side. I was the director of the IT and so on. And we put it basically more for weather forecasting and also to track where the boats are going out, because we had a problem with Coast Guard services in Tobago. And we offered the government of Trinidad at that time to have used Tobago fishing boats, at least 2 of them, to circumnavigate the island, at spot times, so that whenever fishermen got lost and so on, we can track them. But we had to buy these little gadgetry for them, so that in an emergency and so on, we know where they are through the coordinates. And that is how we were able to track and send rescues and so on to them. But was mainly for finding the location and for the security of the fishermen.
So I think we should really engage the US and build that partnership, that strategic partnership.
This is the most opportune time to do it. Hit it while the
yeah.
iron is hot.
Correct.
I know the Prime Minister says she's hoping to get another radar for the central or north central area of Trinidad.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
if we could get a couple more, might be even better, especially for the southwest here, the Cedros Peninsula at least.
But and Sumant, let me just cut you, Captain. For us to stage that piece of equipment, it has to be in a secure location. For example, the one in Tobago, that is within the airport behind a barbed wire fence.
Yes.
Right? Where would we want to put that if we have to put that down south? I mean, we could put one down in Camden Airport, right? In Central. But
San
where
Fernando
would
Hill.
we...
San Fernando
Hill, in a secure place, okay?
Yeah, it's a top secret piece of equipment, so we never leave it unattended. There'll always be men monitoring it.
Right, okay.
So maybe near the police station or the regiment outpost or something like that.
Yes, there is one down in South that regiment outpost. I was going through that place that floods of Woodland somewhere out there. And
it's in Laramie. I drove by there yesterday. It's in Laramie.
Right. It's a terrible position because it's down. Why would you put an outpost down and you have low ground? You always put an outpost on high ground.
High ground. I thought it was a school because it's a new building and they had the correct location where the old one was. It was high up overlooking the Gulf of Paria. From Laramie, there is on a height. On the edge of the mango, there's like a little ridge, and you had a beautiful view of the Gulf of Paria. Where they have put it now, where they're planning to put it, because I understand they are completing it this next month or so, is in a deep valley in a residential area. I was so shocked that I thought it was a school going up there. And he says, no. I was told it is a regiment post, which is up the road. They're bringing it down here. Basically, it's in a hole. Yeah.
That made no sense when I saw it. I was just flabbergasted that a military post is in a hole, and overlooking it, anyone could look down in it. It's like
Yep.
a fish in a yeah. So I don't know who was the military personnel commander that decided that was the location for it, but it's a terrible location. It's a terrible location.
So technically, that's below the 100-year storm, 100-year flood level.
There's a road, right? There's a road that passes there, and then this thing is built down in the gutters. So
it's called the Ring Road. It's a ring road, which used to be the old Tasker Road.
Okay.
It comes down from Laramine there, Mosquito Creek, Laramine, through the Tasker Road, which means it's a sugarcane plantation where the Taskers used to pass and carry it to the mill in Woodland. So now they took this road and they brought it all right down to the Davie Market and hooks up to the Solomon Short Highway. I drove by it yesterday because the traffic was so heavy. I had to take the old road, which is really the new road, and came out in the highway, Solomon Hochway Highways, and came up to Chaguanas. Pretty nice road. A lot of development happening down there. It's the cane lands which are given as part of the VSEP arrangement, and a lot of fantastic $1 million homes right through every single home. Fantastic development.
Did you see a helicopter landing at that location?
I did not see. Normally, for helicopters, they normally have the marker, right? The blue cross or the blue circle or something like they have in the hospitals.
Right. But did you see? Right. So it's beyond me why you would want to land a helicopter down in a hole.
As I said, it was shocking for me to really see that. I couldn't understand why would you want to do that in a development, housing development area. And they were like half of a mile from where they were all the time, which I said, a line of sight. You could literally see Venezuela from there. You could see Port of Spain from there, that location where they were at. Rather than now they're in a hole, you ain't seen nowhere other than the hole where you are.
So this location, the military serves no purpose there other than just being in camp and doing nothing, because they can't. They're not aware of the surroundings. They can't get out there. They could be pinned in at that location. So I'm just saying that before more money is being spent into that location, the Prime Minister and the national security people should look at that. I don't. I mean, they do have a lot of experienced people in Trinidad with the military. They have been trained, so I would imagine they would know better when the location.
Well, Captain, training and having experience, two different things, you know.
Business sense to strategically.
I had to build a post. I had to build a post, an outpost, a military post in Kapisa province. And we ran into the same problem, and we had to acquire a piece of land from the Afghan governor, and he gave us a hole in the ground like that, and that wouldn't fly. And we ended up acquiring something on high ground, which worked out a lot better. But yeah, you're right. You know, you have a little experience. You tend to see things immediately when it's a major issue, but money is being spent for that, you know.
Well, Gary made a good suggestion there. You know, put it in San Fernando Hill. Put it on the hill, San Fernando, on top of the hill there.
Well, I don't know what's the reason for having that in Laramine there. Well, the Tasker, he knows the exact location. I just drove on it because I was going to Point Fortin, and I went exploring out there. But I'm saying that they chose that area for a particular reason. So at least find the high ground and put it on there, so you can. If there's a reason for the military to be operational, and also while you're sitting in camp, you must have overwatch. You must have some high area where you can see a 360 around your base camp. In that aspect, I sent you, Ken. I sent you something we call the nest, which all military bases have nests.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, so that was about 70 feet up. That was built, and then the French engineers helped us with the sandbagging and fortifying it up there. So basically, any camp you must have points and intersecting fields of fire that anything coming towards it, you'll be able to defend it. But I think that's a big oversight by someone, a huge oversight. But again, that's quite typical in Trinidad.
Well, it's something we could bring up to the Minister of Defense, Wayne Sturge or Alexander, and have them look into that. And maybe you could suggest make the suggestions.
Well, I think yeah, and you being an engineer, if you look at it, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
No, definitely. You just look at a topo map.
Yeah.
And you can figure it out.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a lot, Gary. Sumad, there's a whole lot that has to be done. I know right now it's almost the 15th of September down there, so everything is gonna go to a crawl until next year.
Yeah, December month, Christmas month. People getting their back pay next week and a half and so on. I guess everything stops.
So very low. Very low production into the new year, and then we have a hiccup with Carnival, which always disturbs grander scheme of things. So we can never seem to get production done there. That's always a disappointment, you know. With the productivity of Trinidad and Tobago, but we'll see. I mean, so far the government is doing a lot because they're starting in a situation where the former government
minus at the minus level, so they have to try to bring it up to at least to this 0 point axis and then start to go forward. But right where we climb and we're still underwater.
Yes, definitely.
It's a historic low.
Yeah.
We inherited a historic low.
We climbing out from underground, right? The
Gary,
economic situation is worse than when we took in 2010, right? But the government is putting a lot of things in place. They are working to build that backbone, build the backbone and our strength back in economically. And it's going to take a little time, but I'm telling you, by next year around this time, you're going to see some difference. In fact, you're already seeing some things taking place, but we have to restructure.
A lot taking place.
We have to restructure,
Definitely.
So, but I hope that the population learned their lesson from the last time, and they came out and vote, and I don't. We're going to keep the information going here, so that they are properly educated on what's really taking place and don't buy into the propaganda. So we have to keep the truth, in the forefront and counterattack any kind of misinformation. But to see by the voter turnout in the election in May, you could see that people were disenchanted, and I just hope that we're doing what we can to help this government perform the best that they can. Right? We are standing by the government. We are providing information, and we want to see the highest level of service delivery that can possibly take place. I like to always extend the invitation for those who are located internationally, like ourselves, to capitalize and utilize the technology to engage in Trinidad and Tobago. You don't necessarily have to run down there, because we need to restructure a country where it can be suitable for you, because of the level of safety and the medical aspect of things. We are working in a direction to rebuild, And like I say, all hands on deck, everybody on board. We have to create that platform where people can participate. The invitation is there, but we have to create that infrastructure to accommodate those who will want to participate and not frustrate them.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, it's
Definitely.
21 for me here.
Yeah. So we'll pick up tomorrow night.
Yeah, guys.
All right.
Definitely. Thanks a
All
lot.
right, then.
Have a good night.
All right,
Good night,
take care.
Take care.
everybody.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay, bye.
Bye.